Hello everybody and welcome to Free Indie Games, presented by Cliqist. Today we are taking a look at Fallen London. Now you'll notice there's no itch.io page or anything like that we're going to discuss first, because this is a browser game. That means you can play it in your browser. You don't have to go through any downloads or anything like that, just go straight to the page. Now this is a pretty well-known game by now, I think, but I think you might know the developers more for some of their more recent stuff. That developer being Failbetter Games, who have made Sunless Sea and recently funded its sequel Sunless Skies on Kickstarter. They raised over £377,000 looking at the Kickstarter now. But they also did some other games here and there, like Tales from Fallen London. I think they did like a browser game for a Dragon Age game, stuff like that. But what they're known for is their story, their writing, and their innovative gameplay ideas in ways, well, let's just say, when I say they're innovative, they are innovative. Unjustly imprisoned. The view from your cell is magnificent. Fallen London, far below. You've come so far, and you're so close. No prison can hold you now. Hello, Dicious friend. Dicious? Delicious friend. To find out who you are and why you're here. Escape from prison. And this is the game. It is I guess you can call it a text-based adventure game, but it's also an RPG. It's well, it's pretty much those two things. It's not a first-person shooter, but yeah, it blends old school text-based adventure things with kind of modern visual novels and RPG mechanics and all that fun stuff, and it presents it in this kind of browser-based exploration thing. The premise of this game is that you can do anything you want. You can become a detective, you can become a criminal, you can just hang out in your house all day, you could make friends with other players, with other NPCs, and invite them to your house for dinner, you can go to a carnival, you can just save the world, you can become a sailor or a pirate, and just trade goods all day. You can become a store operator. You can do anything you want to do in this game. The level of detail is just incredible. But that's not to say the game is perfect. We'll come on to its big flaw later on. And as you can see with that last action, we burned an action point, which means we have one less to work with, which means we have only 19 left to go, and we're not going to get any more until 5 minutes from now. Just keep that in mind. And this is kind of how some of the RPG mechanics work. You can do a sort of watchful thing and kind of watch to see what other people are doing. You can persuade somebody to help you out. You can pretty much fight your way out. You can stealth your way out. And depending on your skill levels, you'll have different % chance of success. Now obviously, this being the start of the game and you not having any skills whatsoever, everything is a 100% guaranteed chance to succeed. That's actually another problem of the game. I know I'm kind of stacking on problems all of a sudden, but there's a ton of lore and backstory, and none of it is really ever explained to you. So you might be wondering why it's called Fallen London. Well, see, don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, Hell invaded Earth, or demons from Hell, or Cthulhu monsters or something, invaded Earth, there was a big war, and then they kind of claimed London for themselves by sinking it underground, and people still continue to live there, but there's no like hell stuff or anything, it's just kind of underground. And there's like all kinds of different kingdoms and things, and other cities that were underground for longer, and it's somewhat confusing because, like I said, none of it is ever explained to you. You just get bits and pieces here and there. Another problem, it's kind of hard to know what you're supposed to be doing. It's very much a choose your own adventure in the strictest sense. You really are choosing what you want to do. Right now we are in Spite. That's one of several different locations we can go to. You have a deck of cards here. You can only draw one at a time at the start, but you can draw more as you go. And these are basically just extra opportunities, or storylets, as they're called here. You can choose any one of these to start doing at any time whenever you want. You can draw a card and see what that is. Draw a card, thank you. This is Neighborhood Watch. Let's go ahead and see what this is, shall we? Neighborhood Watch. A spate of area diving plagues the residents of Moloch Street. Opportunistic burglars slip into the homes through the entrances used by the kitchen staff. The residents have pooled their resources to hire a watchman. Right, both of these are high risk because I'm not good at either watchful or persuasive, especially persuasive there, only 16% chance. So I'm going to decide to not do this. And I am also going to discard this card, if I have the chance. Yeah, here we go. Discard that because I don't have a chance either way. We've got 6 cards per turn, and well, 6 turns per a certain amount of time, so we're just going to go ahead and draw one more. There it is. It's very slow all of a sudden for some reason. A protector of cats. Interesting. This game loves its cats, by the way. Cat chasing is a tradition in Fallen London, but lately the practice has become a fad. Few are stupid enough to injure the cats, but the Duchess disapproves nonetheless. Both of these are going to be basically impossible for me, as you can see. Rouse the city's residents in defense of the cats, or take to the allies to defend the cats yourself. Okay, well, just for the sake of experimentation showing off the game, let's go ahead and do this one. I'm not very persuasive, but a 34% chance that's better than 25 if I've done my math correctly. So let's go ahead. Oh, and a confident smile, by the way, ensures that you get a second chance to do this in case you fail, which you can fail, and you will often fail, because it's that kind of game. And we have failed. Yep, okay, see what I mean? Your catalog of the feline virtues may have been too thorough. You appear to have sparked off a craze for keeping them as pets. Madness! I know, right? Cats. It's pets. Ugh, disgusting. London's cats pride themselves on their independence. They don't enjoy having little bells tied around their necks. They do not wish to be known as tiddles. They are not happy. And so we failed the persuasive challenge. Our persuasive skill is increasing since we used it, though not by much since we failed. Messages tab, that's another interesting one. You can send messages to... Messages tab, thank you. You can send messages to other players. Or other NPCs, I think, too, but mostly other players. Unfortunately, I don't have any friends right now, so I can't. Return to the world. Plans. This is a new feature that they added just as I was quitting playing. Just as I quit playing last time. Basically, this lets you keep track of all the things that you're doing, because, like I said, there is a lot you can do in this game, and you kind of need something in place to keep track of everything that you're doing. This wasn't here before. And help, this is kind of a generic help thing of how to play. It doesn't really give you any backstory or anything. Like, what am I doing here anyway? You're a stranger seeking your fortune in Fallen London, of course. That fortune might be riches, secrets, mystery, fame... Mastery, sorry. Mastery of something, probably. But yeah, that's just a kind of a basic overview of how the game works. Well, not even how the game works, just what the game is, sort of. I mean, if you want to know how the game works, I'll be here all day just going on and on and on about how to improve your stats and how to get new items and who to talk to and where to go and yada yada yada, but I think you get the gist of it. Instead, let's go on my biggest problem of the game and why I quit playing it to begin with, and that is fate. And it's also tied into actions. It's basically fate and actions together. Welcome to Fate. These are basically microtransactions. Yep. So you have a certain set of actions per playthrough. That's 20 as we discussed. They come back in minutes. I think how much time it takes for an action point to come back grows the more you play in a given time. So that's fun. Isn't that fun? And also Fate, this lets you buy stories, some inventory stuff like that. And basically they get pretty expensive. As you can see here, 45 Fate, 45, 35, 15. That one's 120 for this. And you can subscribe for a certain amount of Fate every month, which is $7, or you can buy Fate individually. Would you like to take a look at these prices? Pretty sure this should be in American currency. If you prefer other payment methods, you can still use Super Reward. Okay, right. Right, how much is 45 Fate? $10. All of these that cost 45 Fate, that's $10 each. So all these different inventory items and these storylines, those all cost $45. Now, You may be asking why that's such a big deal, because, as I kept saying earlier, this is a very complex game and you have a lot to do. Well, you see, that's true up to a point. The problem is, none of these storylines or any of these jobs or activities that you can do really go that deep. They're not very involving if you don't spend the money, and even if you do find something that you can get involved in, chances are you're going to be limited by your action points. Which of course that you can buy more of. I think you can buy hundreds of these things per playthrough or something like that. But really, there's not a whole lot you can do. So let's just, I don't know, let's go with Halloween Miss Edition. Let's choose this. We'll choose a storyline, which will be this one, and I'll show you how shallow all of these tend to be. So we'll go ahead and start this one. Just gonna head and load that up. There's a lot of loading in this game for some reason, which is weird given it's just kind of text and a couple of pictures, but okay, whatever. Okay, you join me about 10 or so minutes later. Yeah, it took a while for that to load. At one point I had to restart the browser because the game crashed. Not my browser, the game. The Hallowmas Edition 1895. Mr. Huffman, editor of the expunged London Gazette, has dusted off his old notebook to interview Hallowmas revelers. By the way, the game doesn't tell you what Hallowmas is. He's planning a special seasonal supplement and is particularly interested in meeting any individual who's found themselves altered or otherwise transformed as a result of the festival. He also intimates that he might be able to discreetly dispose of any confessions still in circulation. Trade your confessions for rewards. Confessions is basically a currency, by the way, before arranging an interview with your companions for a mention in the Hallowmas edition of the expunged Gazette. Expurgated. Will you be a footnote or a headline? Warning, you only get to choose one interview. Choose carefully. Arrange an interview with yourself. Arrange them with all of these people that you meet throughout the game, but I haven't met them yet. It's not going to change anything, trust me on this. So we're just going to say we're going to interview ourselves. So go ahead and click that, and wait for it to load another 3 weeks. Here we go. An entirely singular creature. It seems Huffman found you enthralling interviewee. He has filled page after page with material he gleaned. Much is mere praise, and can be dismissed as flattery. But the articles make valid points about your wisdom, the example you set others, and your generosity of time and imagination. They must have found one of your fans to do an illustration. It is both entirely true to life and terribly good looking. Oh, has he attempted balance? This article's not flattering at all. Still, it's all about you, and that's what counts. You have a new accomplishment. The Gazette Hallowmas Edition of 1895. Exclamation mark, yay! You now have one sworn statement, and you've gained a new quality. Making waves has jumped all the way up to 6. Making waves, let's see what this is. Oh, okay, well, that's kind of basically your reputation in London, how famous you are and things. That will get you, like, into places and have you talk to, like, secret agents and stuff like that. But we're not there yet. But yeah, that was the storyline. That was the entirety of a storyline. It wouldn't have mattered if I talked to any of those other people. It would just kind of be exactly the same as it was. Be just clicking a couple buttons and it was over. Just like that. It was completely luck of the draw. It didn't even make any sense. I just escaped out of that prison. I have no stats whatsoever. And I just introduced myself to some guy writing for a newspaper and made headlines for just talking to a writer for a couple of seconds. I didn't have anything to do with that. It was just kind of luck of the draw. And that's kind of how all of these go, really. It's just click a couple of buttons and that's that. Nothing really changes. You don't change, the story doesn't change, you don't have much influence over what happens. It's just click a couple of buttons for a few seconds and that's it. Yeah, that's kind of the great failing with Fallen London, as far as I'm concerned. I know it has a lot of fans, and it does get slightly deeper as you play on, but you have to sink tons of time into the game before you get to anything remotely interesting, frankly. Anything more involved, anything deeper than what I just showed you. It's a bit of a slog, and the microtransactions and the action counter thing, it just makes it even worse. What makes Fallen London good, what makes me want to play it, and why I do ultimately recommend it is just for how great the writing is. I mean, let's look here, right here. Why do they call him Jack O' Smiles? Well, Jack O' Smiles. The lunatic murderer Jack of Smiles earned his name from his fondness for cutting throats, but he also has for his humorless demeanor. He takes himself very seriously. Although a certain class of newspaper reports his exploits with some enthusiasm. Don't call him Smiles, they say. He hates that. And see, that's kind of irrelevant to the plot. I think it might come up later, but for right now it's completely irrelevant to the plot, but it's nice background details, you know? It kind of makes you feel like you're in a world, like you're reading a newspaper or something in this world, and it's so engrossing, and the writing is so good. The writing in this is just so beautiful and well done. It's engrossing, and it makes you want to keep playing, even though you kind of feel like you're being taken for a ride sometimes. It's so compelling. And the good news is, you don't really have to play this if you don't want to. I thoroughly recommend you picking up Sunless Sea over Fallen London. I think it's a more complete experience. It's a better game, in quotes, and it just lets you do more. It's more involved. It's also more of a traditional kind of video game, but of course it's not free as a result. If you don't like any of what you just saw, well, I guess don't play it. I don't know.